Danger, Snow! Dude, I pushed the button! I pushed the button! I messed up my first time back. How long? How long has it been, boys and girls? And I had that dead spot. Oh, what am I supposed to do? I'll tell you what I'm supposed to do. Never give up and keep on smiling. Come on now. And I'll tell you why. Because we here at Paleocrat Diaries, for one, we are winning over and over and over again. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I have. You know you're doing good if you're winning and you're not even on the air. You're just doing speeches all over the place, causing a little bit of a ruckus. A little itsy bit. I see people in the live chat right now. I'm sure at least a couple of them would very much like to debate me and argue with me. But look, it's a chill stream. You can bring it all you would like. You can bring it all you would like. And the reason why is because it's a transcendental argument we're talking about. We have advanced something remarkable in human history. I didn't ask for it. I didn't sit there and say, God, please make Paleocrat Diaries the apostolate that advances an apologetic method that wipes the floor with dissenters. Because that is what we do. It's what we've done. And we're crushing it left and right because aligning our thoughts, words, and deeds with the divine constitution of the visible church. Why? Because today's the day the Lord's made. We're rejoicing in it. He made you, he made me, and we have a purpose, marching forward, victoriously, unafraid, totally 100% unafraid. And that's why we never give up, keep on smiling, and remember, one day, we're gonna die. We're all gonna die. So make the best use of your time. Make the best use. And I think that tuning in to Paleocrat Diaries is among one of the top selections. I do. I love you guys. It has been a long time. It has been a very, very long time. And man, that's a lot of detail on my face. What's up with that? Why is there so much detail? What's going on? Oh yeah, that's right. I got a new camera. I haven't adjusted completely to it. I'm all gleaming. Should have my wife come in here. Take care of that. My mega hot, half Korean beauty queen wife, Angela. I want to tell her, first of all, I love you big time. And I am very grateful that you took the time tonight, with all the things that you do, you took the time this evening to help me put this together. And it's exciting, because it's been a long time, hasn't it? All right to the comments section. Let's just go right now. Let's see. Who do we go? Who was the first one? Who was the first? I have top chat as Nelson Chase. But I need to see here. Oh, yeah, some message. Okay, live chat. Let's just do that. Okay, we have Menta. We need our Paleocrat. Dude, don't you? Isn't it true? I mean, for real. Did you feel, while I was away, did you feel that? like you could sense something was missing. You know, it's like everybody's kind of in their place doing a good thing. But Paleocrat, where is he? Well, Paleocrat was doing a bunch of awesome stuff behind the scenes and making the kind of waves that once we came back, it was with Augusto. Oh, Anthony Abate's in there. Yeah, he's one of those that, and look, him and I, we've talked about it. But he has it up there still. In fact, it was a suggested video for me recently. It was a suggested video that I watched his trashy short that dogged and made fun of, maligned, completely slandered. There's no reality in what he said. Zero. And it was offensive. So I'm glad he's here. We're dealing with that. And by the way, I have to say this. And I'm gonna level with some people. I'm gonna level with them. Your boy was betrayed in multiple ways. I have helped people to get onto larger platforms and to give them opportunities. And to be brutally honest, one of my favorite of all time, one of my favorite things that I ever did to try to help anybody, to be there in any way possible to help somebody, was with Anthony and Rob. It was with Anthony and Rob because they had what I said at one time was quite possibly the most creative idea in the entire Tradisphere. And that was that they had a game that you would play. I don't know if they do that anymore. I think they gave that up to start talking trash and inviting on people on the fringes stuff while pretending that they don't. So I don't understand that. But I am here to say, if anyone is if you're a Catholic and you have a game that you have put together and it's in a video format, I would love for you to contact me. Reach out to me because we're creating our own network. We're creating it. I'm totally coming in smashing stuff right away. Right away. And I'll tell you the other reason. Yeah, I got Menta, the Kaiser strikes back. Literally, counterpunching. And why is that? Why counterpunch, right? Because I watched in fact, it was my birthday. This is what's hilarious. On my birthday of this year, I decided for some stupid reason that I was going to get on Twitter. I said, I'm going to get on Twitter. I'm going to see kind of what's going on. And I get on there, and it's crazy town. It's crazy town because the world had gone nuts for like a week, right? Having to do with the Trad Recovery Conference. And by, the internet losing its mind, Kennedy Hall, you are a crazy fanatic. You are. You are unmoored, unhinged. And that's why you've unlisted those videos, bro. That's why I've already got them, though. So I can download them and use them. Because, dude, you literally went and were saying that the people involved in what they're doing are of Satan. And you doubled down on it recently. Dude, Sister Cleo, where'd you get your magic crystal ball, bro? Captain Crunchbox? What kind of crappy cereal do they have up there in Canada for you guys? Pick the worst one. That's what I think you got that from. So, and look, some people in this business, dude, they act so tough. They act just baller. Like they've got like this big thing and they're just tough and everyone's following them. The guy's a fraud. He's a fraud. He is a fraud. And I've got the receipts. All right. That's another guy. And it's a bummer in a way. I mean, it's a bummer. It's the inevitable consequence of our current predicament. That's what it is. Yeah, Richard says, Kaiser time. Avoiding Babylon. It's Crypto SETI. Thank you very much. All right. Yes, in Crypto SETI, dude, at least you guys are accepting the label. Because you're all in the same package. All of you. It's amazing the level of, like, where the dissonance going on between what people think of themselves and what they're doing and what they're actually doing. It's just hilarious. But I think that we've made strides when the people who are in fact crypto setters embrace it and they just mock it, because that's actually playing in to what I predicted. You could say prophesied. Why don't you just say that? I prophesied it. Because I did a video where I talked about it. And I said, and I even wrote at the time, I said it was the most prophetic video I have ever made in my entire career. And I did. I made it. Went back. Actually, I talked about it today on Facebook. Yeah. Let's see. Talked about that video. Let's see here. Tex Cathedra says, I once outlated Jeremiah for a show. I don't know if that's hard to do, dude. Well, actually, yeah. That's really hard to do. That's really hard. Okay. So let's get back to this. Let's see. Okay, Prepping for Heaven says, okay, now I'm hoping to see Jeremiah and Patrick. Which Patrick you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Who does this guy think he is making us wait so long? Taylor Marshall? Anthony, no matter how angry I get at you and how much I believe that you totally left the reservation, I'll always have a special place in my heart for you, buddy. I do. I always will. Let's see. Yeah, who's Patrick? I have no idea. Let's see. Oh, yeah, now we have Text Catheter Podcast. So, yeah, Grover. It's good to see you, Grover. It's good to see, let's see, APG, submit to Francis and accept the Roman Catholic Church can bless sodomite couples? Nah, I can't do that. For one, it's amazing how bad sedes are at debating. Sedes, society people, it doesn't matter. They're both in the same epistemological and hermeneutical and ecclesiological boat. At least when it comes to mandates from the vicar, all of a sudden it's like, well, we don't have to we can pick and choose what we want because we put out our monocles and we figured it all out. So that now we can go to the second magisterium. Really, it's the real one. And you can find that over at 1 Peter 5. You can find it at 1 Peter 5. Now, anybody associated with that place. Let's see. But they don't even understand the argument. Not a one of them. Not a one of them has been able, and I hope that every viewer of this show who has fallen in love with the apologetic method that we advance and has seen in their own lives not only how it affected them, but how it affects their conversations with other people. I pat yourself on the shoulder because dudes like Dr. K, he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. The best he can do is make up that dumb name, hyper, uber, ultra, Montanism, whatever it is. And it was a cheap attempt to match the ever-increasing lexicon that is spouted out on the regular by your boy. Well, all right, let's see. Oh, yeah, Patrick Coffin. Patrick Coffin. Did you see that guy? He came out of nowhere. And I mean it. He really was nowhere. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. You know, and he's still doing that hard-boiled detective kind of thing with the mascara thing. He's still doing that. But his arguments are as trashy as everybody else. And did anybody notice? Go on there and find out how unoriginal trads are when all they do, the main thing so many of them did, dude, that's gay. Oh, it's so gay. What a joke, dude. What a joke. Cuckoo. Cuckoo, crazy pant weirdos. Let's see here. Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Very good friend of mine. Yeah, deuterocomical. Hey, it's just a pro-trans guy putting his foot in his mouth. The mariachi music. I was going to do it. I was going to play the mariachi music. I was going to play it, and I just, it was something about it. I think the mariachi music went with the vibe where I had the cigar and stuff, and I have not smoked anything like that in quite a long time. And so gave that up. It's about 1.5 years, 2 years almost now. Feel pretty good about it. Feel pretty good. Let's see. Unhinged from the first 10 seconds. Nice. I know, dude. First 10 seconds were bad. Yeah, Jake Fowler says Kaiser standard time to the max. I'm almost caught all the way up here. I'm almost caught up. Was I really? No, there's way more. No. No. All right. Let's see here. Dude, even Enslaved by Truth shows back up. It's amazing, actually, to see that guy. Dude, where did you go? I've tried looking for you. I probably could have looked, you're probably doing that podcast, the show you do. That's a wild ride, dude, by the way. That is a wild ride. Let's see. I've missed you too, by the way, prepping. I've missed you too. Let's see. New phone. Who this? Let's see. Dylan Stuckley. He said it right. Just submit to lawful authority. Pretty easy. And here's the amazing thing. We already did a video, and I just want to remind all of the people who follow the work here. Sedevacantism as an umbrella term for a number of systems that are rooted in certain presuppositional models, some paradigms, has been completely obliterated. We completely obliterated it in our Francis de Sales series, which all of them, as I said, the best they got is to simply say, oh, that's gay. Or like people on Twitter, to just bring up individual instances of stuff that they say is heretical, not even understanding what the nature of our argument is. Matthew 18, brother, it's a transcendental thing. If you do not have that structure, then your belief is no different than any other group that doesn't have that structure. If you say, well, I have a problem with my brother. I bring it to him and we disagree. So let's say that brother Frederick, they're not really brothers. I mean, they're physiological. So the brothers Diamond, Frederick and Robert, let's say that they have a disagreement, as they do with the CMRI or the SSPX or literally every trad that has ever existed that doesn't submit to them. And their obvious two prophets of the end time shtick they got going with Peter and Michael. Peter and Michael, they're kicking out everybody. If you're at the top of a chain, right, and you're condemning every other group, then just by the nature of the case, you look around, you go, oh, dang, I think that white robe and red shoes belong to me. I'm the last guy standing. Yeah. Okie dokie. Okie dokie in the Trailer Park Monastery. Trailer Park Monastery floating on some of those pontoon raft things. That's what it is. That's at least stylish. You know, their windows, I think, have the stuff like the old conversion vans or whatever. Remember that? I think that's what they've got. That's what they got. Let's see. Anthony was the first commenter. What a coward. LMAO. Anthony was. Yeah, Anthony came in. And actually, Anthony's kind because he said that he still loves me. And I still love him, obviously. Let's see. Hopefully you do not hear Aurelius crying. Aurelius, he's the man. We have to make sure that he's able to come down soon. Let's see. Oh, which videos did Kennedy Hall unlist? Oh, the two where he completely plays the magic psychic person. The one where he completely... For him to say that it's of Satan. Eat it, Kennedy. Eat it, bro. Eat it. I can understand someone disagreeing with somebody. I can get that. I can get saying the person's a jerk. I can get saying that person's a coward or that person's this or that. Okay? I've dealt with it for a long time. I was on talk radio for a long time. So you don't know who's going to call. It's live. So you're getting all these different people coming in and saying terrible things. I can handle a lot of that. But dude, I'm there to talk about our conversion story. Yeah, dude. I'm there to talk about my daughter's life and death with childhood brain cancer and how it brought our family back to God. And you want to say it's Satan, dude. And people wonder why we have a trad recovery group. Come up with a better name, Jeremiah. For one, I didn't come up with a name. And why don't you come up with a better name that actually would apply to people unfortunate enough to have to be around and influenced for a certain amount of time by dissenters and schismatics of various degrees? It's La La Land over there. It is La La Land. It's make it up as you go. That's why he's doing so good. Because he can make it up as he goes. It's what he did with his libertarian debate. He literally had no knowledge. He didn't even finish reading his first book on libertarianism. He hadn't even finished the book on Mises. He admitted it right there in the show. I will never do a debate, never again, where my bona fides are not put first, that are applicable. Because I have done years of work. Years. And to be treated like it's just level like that, that's a ploy. It's fake. It's fake. Let's see. Dare coming in here saloon swinging door style and just blasting. Blam, blam, blam. Better believe it, bro. Better believe it. Better believe it. And I'm not even drinking coffee through a straw. This is just juice. It's juice. It's actually a mix. You guys are going to get on my case. Am I allowed to show my kids? I think they're in bed. I'm supposed to ask them any legal question on this show is dealt with by a committee made up of Lucian and Wolfgang and Aurelius. They're in bed. Maybe they're connected to their Fisher-Price cell phones. Maybe, but highly unlikely. We're very against that. So, Prime. My son went up to the store, Athen. He loves Prime. He loves this stuff. He knows it's bad. It's, potassium for the electrolytes, whatnot. Yada, yada, yada. Anthony says, love you too, homie. I'm just not sure it's me who left the res. Well, then do tell. Do tell. Are you going to say that the church is contradicted? That the popes and councils have contradicted? Are you going to say that? You wouldn't be alone, dude. Do you know who you're echoing? Do you know? But it's real for you. It's real for all of the schismatics that you interview. You give a platform to them and say, I'm just asking questions. Hey, dude, come on. Will you just stop? We just stop. Be honest, man. Yeah. Yeah. And you were so good. And this is the thing. And this is why it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. You'll forever have the stain of my influence in the image, the optics of Rob's very well put together studio. That's always going to have my fingerprint on it. You can't get that away. But ditching a game show. Ditching a game show. Were you called? Do you feel like, did you pray and ask God if you were called to be part of the commentariat and Rob too? Did you do that after the game one, or did you guys just wing it the whole time? Is it just, not that important? We discerned here. We discerned. It's also one of the reasons why we don't do ever. I've never done current event talk where I pick a topic and I'm like, okay, boys, here's the current event. Let's go through it. I don't do it because I know what it lends itself to. Okay. And people, they don't get it. They think it doesn't affect them. But I can tell. Nowadays, if I'm talking to somebody, I can tell if they're somebody who's like regularly online by how agitated they are and how difficult it is for them to concentrate and how their conversations are just like, every day. Oh my gosh. Jeremiah, are you drinking through green licorice? If only. In fact, can anybody up in the production room over there, can anybody hear me? Because if they can, I need some licorice stat. Licorice and hot cocoa. That's what I need. Oh, APG still at it. So fiducia supplicans doesn't allow for the blessing. Dude, you don't understand the freaking argument, bro. I'm not going to answer you if you don't demonstrate even the most basic, elementary, fundamental ABC 1, 2, 3 knowledge of stuff that we have laid down for a long time. It's publicly available, bro. You're just lazy. You are. You're just lazy, man. And I don't like debating and arguing with lazy people. People who say, I'm not going to do my homework first, but I'm going to go pounding away. That was the argument from what's his name? Who's the guy over Gaspers? Gaspers and his henchmen. I could imagine him and that guy. What's the other guy? The Disney character. The Disney kid, who now is a commentariat guy. And born and bred for that. And all he could do was chuckle at me. But you have Gaspers. Well, I spoke before I knew you were going. I didn't know that about your daughter and your testimony. So what? Then why are you talking about it? Are you a journalist or what? No. They're actually, essentially, their tactics are not much different in the nuts and bolts as the Antifa style cancel culture tactics. And they say, well, no, I did it for a good reason. I'm providing canon law and just suggesting it to an authority, a lawful authority, to say, this is ruffling the feathers of my safe space that I don't even live in. I'm taking on everybody. There's nobody. Dude, come at me, everybody. All at the same time. I was handling them yesterday. I was just blam, one after another. There's the arguments. Blah. Blah, blah, blah. Just trash arguments. Trash journalists. Trash arguments. Everybody watching the show who's part of the wolf pack, bona fide, tried and true, card-carrying member, be glad. In fact, exalt his name because he's been gracious to you and to your Kaiser. It's true. He has been very gracious to me, in fact. Very, very, very. And I think what they don't get, because see, we can go back and forth. Deuterocomical's correct, and people should go check out the guy's site. He's awesome, right? I'm still waiting for him to do a video on. He does all these other ones. Trent Horn, yeah. We got to talk about. I have to. Someone write this down. Trent Horn as a sign of victory for Paleocrat Diaries in the questions surrounding the debate that I had with Cameron O'Hearn regarding Mass of the Ages 3. Just saying. I ran a victory lap. I did. I ran a victory lap. It felt great. We had a tremendous influence, in fact. Oh, man. Yeah, but then it's funny because you got this influence, but they got to keep bringing in all of the ridiculously scandalous guys and pretending they're experts. Experts talk about it. I guess. Let's see. Yeah, people think the mic looks pretty cool. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know exactly how it's playing, but yeah, or how it sounds. I don't know if it sounds as good as my old mic. Don't know. Still working with it. Still trying to get a feel. Oh, man. I'm going to be sweating like a dog. It's like super hot. I forgot how hot this was when you had lights all over the place. Ugh. Yeah. Why do I even have this one on? Hold on. What about that? Oh, my gosh, dude. Look at this. Yes. I like this much better. How about you? I like this much, much better. Okay. So, I was saying, the thing that they don't understand, okay? I'm going to make this really easy. Our argument absorbs all your instances. It does. Because ours is regarding something that is impossible, right? The impossibility of the contrary. And what that means is if you take a passage, and our passage that we like to take is Matthew 18, and the model of problem resolution. And it's central, in fact, to the arguments made in almost every chapter of St. Francis de Sales' Catholic Controversy. And it's why the issue about the heretical pope is in the end of the book, and he wipes it clean. Blam! He says, yeah, this would be what would happen. But if that were even possible, because, why? Why? Because his argument through the whole book has to do with the church and its authority over matters of revelation, faith, and morals. And that the vicar, right, the representative, is secured because he's secure from those things because of Christ, not him. Never was it, I trust what the Pope says because he's based. I trust what the Pope says because God is not a man that he would lie. He can neither deceive nor be deceived. And people don't understand when I'm using the word can't in this regard, I mean can't. like literally, because if it could, Christ would not be the Lamb of God. Because Christ would be the most guilty scoundrel of all time. Any person who follows any admonition of any saint about where do you go when you've got a problem, do any of them say, go check the encyclicals with your buddy and scan the ancient scrolls to figure it out? No. Why? Because Catholicism is a publicly revealed religion. Sedes don't get this because they're so individualistic. It's anarchistic. Nobody can tell any of the sedes where to draw the line. It's purely conventional because some people go further back. And then you have to say, no. And they say, well, I think that's heresy. And they know that from some people. They say, oh, yeah, we've got our different schools and stuff. And I'm saying, no, I'm pushing it back really far, saying the Arian Sedevacantist. The Arian Sedevacantist would say, look, it was a robbers' council. You could say, well, the popes have said this. And you go, it's a bunch of anti-popes. It's been a really long time. Yeah, it's not about how long it is. It's about heresy and one drop, blah, 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 blah. Okie dokes. Okie dokie. So you say, well, a council, robber council. So you have heretical pope. You have a robber council. And what are you going to do? Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh. Because I've got some arguments. But you do know that that's why it went to the church. You do know that, right? Yeah, I could take the exact same underlying mechanics of your and principles that you're operating on and use those for every single schismatic that's ever lived. And you want to know why? Because it is exactly what is going on with every single schismatic. The church has made a mistake. I don't believe it. It's fallen away from the faith. What group hasn't said that? And did we ever just say, no, because I got some saints over here? We didn't do that with the Jansenists, did we? The Jansenists? They had their Augustinists. That book, it had an enormous number of citations. In fact, it said by many that that's kind of what it was. It was just an assortment of different people and documents that said things that would back up what they think they believe. So what are you going to do with that? Oh, no. No, those are all wrong. Are you going to go one by 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 one? You going to do that? If you're stuck at a place where you have a disagreement, you bring the two guys together and the two or three witnesses on both sides, and then someone says, go to the church, and you say, well, my position says that there is none right now. Okay. Go over there with all of the other people who've ever said that. Ever. Yeah. And that's why it honestly fits a certain demographic. Sedevacantism is fit for a certain demographic. It is. Including individuals, young people, right? Young people, lots of men who've been jaded, rightfully. I mean, look, society sucks toward them in how many ways, right? But now they're all of a sudden gurus. Johnny Q and Sally Sue sitting down in their mama's room. All of a sudden, man, they're like, but I read on the CMRI website, I read some quotes that talk about this and that. Whoop-de-doo, good for you. Whoop-de-doo, good for you. Because those guys are just simply leaders of their own denominations. I would invite every Sedevacantist to do the same thing. Just start your own denomination. Why on earth? Because that's what St. Francis de Sales says. Why on earth, if that is the way it works, and you just have to go back and keep debating the scrolls, and then go back and debate the scrolls, and then go back and debate scrolls, that in the end, he said, why would he entrust himself to anybody else then? They just ignore these. They completely ignore all of the book, and they try to grab on to two sentences that are without the context of everything else. Sure, if you want to rip it right out and say, well, a heretic pope cannot be the pope, and say, what does he say after that for page after page after page? He mocks the people. He mocks the people that would dare to say such a thing, because he insists that the church is not simply the conservator, but the one truly conserving it by opening it up, by giving us its understanding. And because Christ died for his bride, he is valiant in his defense and his guidance of her steps. Your argument is that literally Jesus failed. You have like this weird idea that all of a sudden Jesus just stopped doing what he did. Or you're taking a position that just because those popes in the past were really smart, I think they went to school a lot, so they made really good decisions, and everybody back then was really, really, really honorable and reverent everywhere. Yay! Cartoon. You guys are a cartoon. Am I being mean? Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Michael brings up the question. Well, I brought up the question here about, what would you call it if not trad recovery? And she says, I've been trying and it kind of has to be. Yes, because, and this is where it really does show that you're basically making trads accept what they already know. They have entire conventions that are based on this. And that is that the clans are not united. So if you call it CMRI recovery, that's not going to get the SSPV. If you say SSPV recovery, you're not going to get the SSPX. And people go, oh, that's where it draws the line. I say, no. Let's keep going. Because you can say Jerry Matetics, the Home Alone crowd, Hutton Gibson, right? You got that guy. You got your independents that go around and float around to different chapels. You have some bishops that ride around with nuns and have mass in the trunk. And they'll invite you to go to a hotel where they're going to celebrate mass. What a joke. What a joke. But they would have to have some kind of a term that would resonate with all of the people who have been completely burned by that. I'll give you one example. So there was a Sedevacantist priest who's no longer a priest anymore, in large part because of the show. He reached out, talked to us about it. But more down-to-earth ones, like that ones that aren't quite so big. And you say, I knew this lady who was married. And she'd been married to this guy for a while. And it was, I think, his second marriage. And so he got it annulled. His first marriage was annulled. Married this lady. They made kids. Everything's great. He's the dad. He starts doing the whole suspicionista thing. I'm wondering about the Pope. I wonder if maybe he's a heretic. And it just gets worse and worse. And slowly, he's going down the stairs. And he gets down to his computer where he hangs out with the folks from St. Gertrude, the not so great. I'm talking about the facility and the name of the people there, not actually St. Gertrude. But because of that, rejected the idea that they were legitimately married. Why? Because the annulment, it wasn't real. It wasn't real because, like the ordination and stuff. Some dude, Rando Joe, doesn't know left from right on anything to do liturgically and stuff like that. He's got the basics down. And he literally wrecks a family. Those kids are real people. You might not like to accept this, but there's so many examples of this. In fact, Trad Recovery Network, that's an accumulation of a whole bunch of people who'd gone through it. I got people at Coming Home Networks talking to me about it because they got people that come in and start saying, I don't know. I started watching Kennedy Hall. I started watching Dale Marshall. I started watching 1 Pier 5. And all of a sudden, starts to go a little bit a different way. What do you do? I'll tell you what you don't do. You don't bring in the whack-a-mole crew. You don't. You don't invite Trent Horn. You don't invite Jimmy Akin. You don't invite a host of people. In fact, I love Lofton. I think Lofton would use the argument we're talking about. I'd hope. I would hope he would. A lot of it was actually done kind of on his channel, so I'd hope he would. And you bring us in. And I know that because my church does. People in my church, when there's an issue like that, they don't go to certain other people. We have a bunch of people in the church that are traditional entrepreneurs and traditional pundits and everything else. We're, a whole bunch of them there. And it's nothing against anybody. It's just saying, who's been there? Who's been there, who knows what they're talking about, and who mops the floor with them? It's us. Yeah. And Grover, no, me and Kennedy are not buddies. We used to be. Not kinda. I mean, yeah. And to this day, my heart breaks for the guy. I saw him actually at Mass of the Ages. I saw him. Because I went to the Mass of the Ages 3. Yeah. It was actually fantastic. It was wonderful. I'll do a different show. I'll do a different one about that specifically. But I saw him. I did not anticipate it. He's a strong guy, right? Firm build, got a nice looking family, everything else. He wasn't, rude in any way. I said hi to him. He said hi to me, and that was it, right? We from a distance and stuff, But it's really about what comes out in the frame. What comes out in the frame? Who are you in the frame compared to who you are in real life? Because a lot of people fake it till they make it. They know they can. They know it's part of the business a little bit. And as long as they can talk and as long as they can come up with something really, really reactionary off the cuff, like all day long. So if you're somebody who, like me, has the ability to just, forever and ever and ever, and you can look at an article and just real quick take the shots and know the kind of bumper sticker logic that you need to unravel, it's kind of how it works. For some of these guys, man. It's kind of how it works. Let's see. Novus Ordo is full of dissenters, heretics, and schismatics. It's way worse than any city group. You know what? Yes. Yeah, man. You're totally right. There are so many people in the church right now who are dissenting for reasons far and wide. But they're in proximity and in communion with the visible church, whose divine constitution no man can ever change. It's impossible. It's impossible. And that constitution is what we are to align our thoughts, words, and deeds with. This is Pope Leo XIII in his encyclical on Christian citizenship. We've gone over it a whole bunch of times because he talks about the people who make arguments like sedes, and he talks about the people who make arguments like the modernist people and the ones who have terepity or whatever. They're afraid. He covers all his bases, and he does even more than that. And you know what? This is something I've never seen a sede really talk about. The pastoral rule. It's referred to as not being changed at all by Pope Leo XIII. He referred to it as though it was not only still good, but the gold standard on the way that superiors and subjects ought to be told to behave and how it's separate. The admonitions are not the same. Pope St. Gregory the Great goes through this long thing. We've read it before on the show. I think we're the only ones to do it. I don't know anybody else has ever done it like this. But we read that and what it talks about. If I asked, what is the example? If I asked Sedevacans, I have before, what's the example that the church has given us over how we ought to obey, apart from our Lord, who's the perfect standard? Apart from that, who else is the church fallen back on when it comes to bishops doing wicked bad stuff and what the subjects are supposed to do and how they ought to behave? I'll give you 5 seconds. King David. King David. Why? Go read it. I think it was a pastoral rule. Is it book 4, chapter 3, or is it book 3, chapter 4? I don't know. You got to forgive me on it. But he goes into great detail. He doesn't say, and disobey if you think he's a heretic. And the reason why is because that whole idea is based on a hermeneutic of suspicion. And I don't just mean like I suspect that this guy's bad, but that you act upon that and believe that your suspecting so warrants your insisting universally so. And that's the big can of worms that some of the people that said his reference opened up. There's different schools of thought, by the way. There's different schools of thought on the Sedevacantist question. I say on the traditionalist question. I would. Many different schools of thought. I say. Yeah, no coffee. No, and I think it's kind of showing. I need coffee, right? I mean, this is a chill stream, though. I can't get jazzed out all about that. But the suspicionista, back to this. The suspicionista, that person, on what standard? And you say, well, I suspect that he's guilty. You suspect so. Oak dokes. What if I don't? What if I don't? Oh, yeah, by the way, you guys can super chat this. Yeah, a super chat right now. Let's go and see what this is. Let's go see. Where's the Oh, there it is, right there. For the AB crowd, imagine inviting someone to your show to speak ill of your biological father. Would be sinful. How does God see slander of vicar? Yeah. And yes, of your father. How about this one? King David, it's because of Saul. Saul. Because he says, the popes, Pope Leo XIII, Pope St. Gregory the Great, both of them agree with this. Both of them. All right, he says, this isn't hard. Is Joe Biden a Catholic? Is Nancy Pelosi? Yes, they're bad Catholics. They need to be called back to their baptism, do they not? And that's the thing. You guys have no missionary impulse, really. You guys are just chucklers. And that's lamentable because that's a lot of talent going to waste. You guys are otherwise, relatively funny. It's it's just true. Now, Dylan Stuckey. I'm so sick of the gaslighting about the Novus Ordo. It sucks when it's not celebrated as good as it could be. When I dropped the propaganda, I got so much spiritual growth out of the liturgy. Yes. And this is, getting back to the trad recovery thing. I don't know why we just left that. This is big. It's big news. We literally have been making news. It's true. It's true. I show up, I drop it, blam, blam, blam. All of a sudden, this is what happens. Yes. No, and see, APG says, that's absurd, Jeremiah. If you accept them as Catholics, then the unity of the faith is meaningless. No, if you don't, then you're saying their baptism is meaningless. Can you, if they're an apostate, what are they apostatize? What are they heretical from? And what would be the remedy? Hey, buddy, would it be go through RCIA? Is that how we would do that? Fake. You would do that. This is why your arguments are just so crappy. Is even now when I've talked about the impossibility of the contrary and how Matthew 18 works, all you've got is instant. That's a termite tactic that's so old. It's like smushes. Not hard. Try harder. Yeah. Retro. Yeah. Retrocalypse says, please pray for my dad. He's on his deathbed. He's never shown any care for God. And there's major trauma that he inflicted on me and my family. Please pray for God's mercy for him. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. God, we just bring this father before you. We ask that in this time of trial and the throes of death, that he reflects sincerely, that you penetrate his heart and penetrate his mind in a way that makes the confession authentic. And Lord, we know that you are gracious and that you call even the smallest amount of faith, that giving that widow's mite, giving what you have in your time of trouble to remain firm. God, we ask that he even be given the smallest amount of that. Lord, that you would draw him And that even in this place or afterward, and no matter what afterward, that you would help the family. You would help the family to rediscover and rethink a lot of the things that had gone down. It's a time where they'll be able to mourn and calmly reflect. And we just pray that it's fruitful and that it gives them joy where they were crying and hope where they had despair. We love you, Lord. We ask all these things in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Let's see. And someone says, so instead of a contest, Catholics. So yes, they're separated brethren. Yeah. They're separated brethren. To me, that's, I think, one of the important dynamics of the prophetic value of St. Francis de Sales' method. And what that is that he didn't list the series of letters that were delivered that would later on be part of what led 70,000 people back to the Catholic Church. He did not list them as part of the books that he'd written in his life and the things like that. But he said these were studies or exercises, right? And that he hoped and prayed that they would be found useful in the future as a method of holy preaching to those who had walked away. Yeah, we're doing that. We're doing that. We believe that that's true. At Paleocrat Diaries, we embrace that all the way. Yeah, Michael Superlax says, yeah, me too. I converted in the Novus Ordo. So did I. I was a Protestant pastor, and I went to this church. I've been debating people for a year and a half, practically. And I finally caved. I went to my very first Mass. And it was Christmas Eve. And it was amazing. I was shattered. St. Francis de Sales had already wrecked me. But that inspired me. I went home. I was so joyful that I had found this thing. And I went, and I knew that when I was going to type that on my blog, that it was going to just be the end. And I did it. And I went to the Novus Ordo the next day, or not long after that. It wasn't long after that. I told my wife, I'm going to church now. I'm going to start going as often as I can, and I don't care if I have to crawl to get there, because it's the true church. And she said, where you go, I go. So I went that day, and it just so happened to be St. Francis de Sales' feast day. Said, yeah, he was hunting us down. Okay, let's see this. Yeah, the sin of heresy automatically severs one from the church. Dude, then you're out of the church. You're out of the church because you believe that Rome has apostatized. You believe that Rome has lost the faith, that the popes have contradicted, and that the councils have contradicted. And so unless you're persuaded by your conscience or by your understanding of the most authoritative texts, for Luther it was his Bible, for you it's Bible plus. There you stand. So help you, Satan. God's not helping you. That's why your chapels are trash. That's why you guys are led by scoundrels. And there's no way in the world. Imagine the tomfoolery of this situation. That all the bishops get together and they're like, okay, we're gonna go down to the Motel 6 here. And we're gonna rent it out. We're gonna get the continental breakfast, and we're gonna vote for a pope and announce to the world what it is. Nope. Nobody would care. And you wouldn't have an agreement. Because sedevacantism is Pandora's box. Let's say, APG, that a pope magically one day you have maybe Peter and Paul are going to come down. Maybe that's how it's going to happen. And you're going to get your pope that you think is dope. Unless you're like the Catholic rapture person. Likely. But let's just pretend you're not. let's say you think that guy's mega based and you're like, oh, I'm all the way down. You need to submit to this guy. He cleaned up all of the heresies. Oh, totally. The diamonds are still going to disagree with you. Home aloners, unless you are, whatever you are. Every other Set A group that disagrees with every other Set A group would disagree with you believing that suffices. And what are you going to say to them? They're going to say, well, I suspect you of heresy. And you say, why? They say, you should read our book about baptism. All the quotes in it. $10. Honest question. How is this network being policed for modernism? What? Being policed for modernism? Who is this person? Who are you? Let's see. Yeah, I'll look at you later. Honest question. Okay. In the same way that the church always did. Institutionally. Unlike sedevacantist places that don't have any. And if they do, it's a denominational structure. You don't actually have to submit one lick to any of them. You don't have to. You don't have to. So how do you police that? How do you police that when you don't have an institutional structure that everybody must submit to? A kingdom that doesn't end, that has the prelate, that has a divine constitution, visibly accessible, publicly accessible by people around the world, whether they can read or not read, have the internet or not have the internet, that they're still there. How did they police for modernism in the medieval time? Institutionally. And see, this is the thing. Like, it's one of these where it's kind of like the Eastern Orthodox. The Eastern Orthodox can complain and say, well, you guys have a bunch of this terrible stuff going on in your church. And I say, yeah, but we have a principal point of unity where we're actually able to settle a score and determine something for the world. You guys don't. You guys have guys that in more modern times not only disagree with each other, but might be condemning each other left and right, crossing their fingers and hoping not to die before they pull the little speck out of their brother's eye. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. And so it's the same thing. How would you take care of the modernism? And is there not a difference between the way that different Set A groups understand this? Some Set A groups accuse others of saying, you guys are doing a vigil mass that's Freemasonic. Some say, you guys have a liturgy where they change the canon. Let's go. We have a disagreement, obviously, right? You go get two of your buddies. I go get two of mine. Let's go find out where we go. If you say you don't have anywhere to go, then our Lord demands that we view you as a schismatic, as a heathen and a tax collector. And it doesn't say, unless they've got mega-based arguments, because it would be impossible. And this is why. And this is what I don't think any of these studies can. Let's see. The reason why they don't get it is because when Jesus is describing, when our Lord is describing the church in Matthew 18, he's describing its function in such a way that it only fits a certain model. You can't plug in Baptist ecclesiology to that. It makes no sense. You cannot plug in congregational, United Church of Christ stuff. Doesn't work. You can't even do it with groups like the Mennonites or the Pentecostals. Anybody. Doesn't matter. Pick your top 50 different Protestant denominations. 0 of them have an ecclesiology that fits. And why is that? Why? Because it would have to be indefectible, immutable, and infallible in all of its verdicts like that. Why? Because if not, why would our Lord send you there? Why would he say that the people who disobey, that you're supposed to treat them as if they aren't in the church? How are you? Or that they're, heathens. They're living as a heathen. You're calling them back. The devil's gnawing away at them. But why would you even go? You don't need to submit to it because you can say, no way, sir, I'm standing up to you and I'm not going to submit. That's what you guys do. American tomfoolery. Because if that is the way it goes ever, then there is no church. It would have defected. It would have mutated. And that was the charge, by the way. That's the charge for every enthusiast ever in the history that split away, that found its origin inside, and through various disagreements and things that went on, through all that, they found themselves at a place where they had to make a decision. They were either going to submit themselves to the verdict of Holy Mother Church, or they were going to be heathens and tax collectors, insisting to faithful Catholics who subject themselves that they don't need to. That's why St. Francis de Sales says that your rejection of this religious authority, that you don't have any, who's a religious authority over you? Invisible Rome. The invisible remnant church. Now you're a Mennonite. You're like the Trail of Blood people. You guys are. Let's see. I saw several screenshots from y'all's forums that were just as bad the other way anti-trans. Okay. Let me peel back just a second. I agree with you a little bit. I do. I agree with you a little bit. It's something that I've talked about, that you have people who are like anti-enthusiasts. They are. They found themselves the thing to grapple onto, and every single day they wake up and it's just like Groundhog Day. It's the same debates, the same topics. It's as predictable as the morning sun. And I will not say predictable as something else because when I did that before, I got some flack. I got some flack when I compared to stuff that fiber helps, the regularity. Got a little bit of flack. But it's true. I think one of the things that fuels that is the democracy of knowledge, right? Like how democratic it's become, how level things have been, the leveling, right? And that with social media, it agitates, it inflames. If it bleeds, it leads. And that's true anywhere. Anywhere on social media, it's true. If it bleeds, it leads. If I do a video that says, no heresy was taught today, who's going to watch that? It's harder to do this line of work if you're actually faithful to the church. Because you have to limit yourself. You have to be prayerful about what is your purpose. Why are you there at all? Why are you feeling that draw that says, well, you need to, activity remove report. Pause user hide the comment as matter. No. Okay. I appreciate it. And by the way, thank you, Thursday. I appreciate it a lot. And I'm sorry for coming off a little quick there. Should have read the whole thing. And are you talking about the Trad Recovery Network? Because I don't know. I am not behind the scenes there. I am the keynote speaker at that event. I originally was going to be the MC. Michael Lofton, he's unable to make it. And that left your boy. So I gladly acquiesced. We're going to be there talking about the book. In fact, I'll read a little bit of it here in a minute. And look, I hope that the sedes stick around for this, for reading. Tell me, say, look, is this a good book? I think that, it's easy to get agitated. It's easy to get inflamed. So many of the people, sedevacantists and anti-sedes, they're online all the time. They're online all the time. And it's hard for them to break free from that. And the reason it's hard for them to break free from that is because for many years this thing's been happening. And they're addicted. They're addicted. It's more than dependency. It's more than dependency. They're addicted. They get irritated. They get irritated if they are not able to get on, right? Agitated. It can frustrate people. They'll have phantom vibrations in their pocket. They'll want to check. If people check, how many times did I check? It's embarrassing for most people. How much time they've spent on there. And that they don't understand that these tools that they're using are using them. That they're the product of an enormous power play against their mind and soul. Because these devices and the apps that are on them, the programs that are on them, so many of them that consume the most amount of energy, emotion, and time are put together with enormous amounts of investment to make even the color display addictive. To make it something that you don't even realize, woo, get you all jazzed out. Get you all jazzed out. And then you just keep going back and back and back. You get that rush. Dude, I totally roasted this guy. Then you go on the next day. And what do? You go to the sites that say the same stuff as yesterday, but just find out which fire they're putting out today. It's the same kind of fire. They're like firemen that are like, oh, we're actually looking for this one. It's not really causing a big deal, but if it bleeds, it leads. Otherwise, informative and entertaining things and holy things that make people saints are sacrificed on the altar of entertainment. Edutainment. Edutainment. Let's see. Marschwammer is the German term for a radical, fanatic, or enthusiast. It was used originally for the radical Anabaptists and those who believed in an invisible church with no sacraments. Dude, look at that. Look at that. An enthusiast. An enthusiast. Man, oh, day. I'm sweating like a dog. Where is my handkerchief? Man, Jake Fowler told me you always got to have a handkerchief. And brother, dude, I'm like pouring down sweat right now. It is hot in this room. Why is it so hot? This is terrible. Kathy Little. Kathy Little. For as long as I can remember, I love listening to your talks. I love you. You're amazing, by the way. We miss you. We say that all the time. We're gonna be in town. When we go to town, hanging out with you. Okay. Leo the 13th said, if anyone holds to a single heresy, he isn't Catholic. So supporting a boarding public isn't a heresy? Absurd. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You're still at it with the instances, dude. I don't mean to be mean, but you're kind of not understanding stuff. People talk about presuppositions and paradigms and transcendental arguments, and you're doing the piecemeal thing. You're not even addressing it. You're not addressing it. And you know what? You know how many people said, oh, you think that worshiping three gods in one in three, three in one? Oh, it's a mystery? You think that's real? Oh, yeah, what a joke. Absurd. You think that worshiping the triune God isn't a heresy? How stupid is that? You're still dealing with the Arian sedevacantist, dog. You're still dealing with the Arian sedevacantist who looks at you and says, you're not even Catholic. You're not even Catholic. You're just like the Novus Ordites. Just maybe like 50 years earlier, but big whoop-de-doo from a guy nearly 2,000 years old. Right? The wandering Arian. The wandering Arian who's not dead yet. Look, if heresy and schism develop. It's like a virus, right? You see the resistance to it, and the next one that comes out can't fall prey to the same thing, so it develops. And it took a long time for people to develop the quote-unquote thesis. And we've already talked about how it's not a thesis at all. Not a thesis at all. At least not one about an empty chair. It's one about a defecting, mutable, fallible church that, if that was true, Jesus is not Lord. Tell me, what's more absurd? That Leo the 13th said that if anyone holds that if someone teaches a single heresy or believes in a single heresy, that they're not even Catholic. It's interesting because his reference to to Pope Gregory the Great, when he talks about that, he actually develops it. And this is what's amazing. I think we are among the first to talk about this development. Okay. And that development is, go and read the pastoral rule, the one that I mentioned. Do your homework instead of thinking you can use arguments that, did I karate chop your arguments in the throat? Dude, in my sleep. It's not even hard. So you're not even addressing me. And if you're the guy from Twitter, dude, then you really have a habit of not listening and not understanding at all. I would strongly encourage you, dude, to go and just, if you want to debate with me, and that is, you apparently want to, dude, you want to debate me bad. So does Seta Picante. Neither of you guys have addressed the argument once. Not even one time. I don't even think you understand what a transcendental argument is, which is why I don't think you have any reason to even be doing the stuff you're doing. It's so ignorant. It's just ignorant. And according to St. Francis de Sales, it is the main thing, if not the only thing in all of the world worthy of the name scandal. Ooh, wow. I thought that was just about the priest and the novice ordo. No, not just them. Also you. Let's see. Michael says, many Wolfpack people attend TLM or Eastern liturgies, me included. Not anti-tradition. Right? Let's see. Phil, for $20. How do I put this on the screen, dude? How do I put this on the screen? Do I have a... Let me see if I can get this chat thing going. Let's see. Properties. Let's see. Copy. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Ugh, so let's go over here. So I got the chat up. Oh man, it's taking over this cool microphone. That's okay. It's okay. By the way, do you guys love this or what? I love it. I am quite glad to be rocking the mic tonight with my friends. Not in this hot sauna, but I'm sweating to the oldies here. So Phil wants to know, don't you automatically excommunicate yourself if you put ketchup on a hot dog? That is apocryphal, kind of like the lion lays down with the lamb. It's actually the wolf, right, grazing and stuff. And it's not ketchup on a hot dog. It's ketchup on chicken and macaroni and cheese. I don't know why people say that either. I think it's delicious. I don't get it. Ketchup on mac and cheese. Ketchup on chicken. Ketchup on chicken. Let's see. Oh, Colin. Oh, Colin Coxey. Okay. Look at this. Somebody says, if you want to be just Catholic, you must know what is a Catholic. Maybe Matt Walsh needs to do a video called What is a Catholic? Why about, Matt Walsh, did something happen with that guy? I've never followed his work. I don't really know. I don't care to. It's like a brand. I've seen it. I've watched him a couple times. It's just not me. Nothing against him. I'm sure he's a fun guy. Sure, he's a fun guy. I saw likes by the head of the forums on posts that were blatantly calling for disobedience of the council. You talking the Second Vatican Council? And likes on it? If so, look, I don't know if you're talking about just in general or in this one right here, like in the live chat. Are you talking like, how do I do this? Are you talking about this live chat right here? And you saying like, who's figuring this thing out, you know? If so, we do have some moderators. So, but we also allow a pretty decent amount of conversation. We're going to run for about 15 minutes longer. And so if you would like, to have people come in, look, why don't you go and invite some of those cats from Twitter? They're all going to see the video soon enough. They're all going to see it soon enough. And we're going to get the, pontifications. We're going to get the pontifications. It's okay. It's okay. It's actually, it's part of the plan. It's inevitable. And see, that's the thing. Our model predicts these things because it's the same. Ronald Knox's cycle of enthusiasm is fundamentally untouched by any of the schismatic groups that are mentioned all throughout his evaluation of schismatic history in his book Enthusiasm. It's the same cycle of events. He said it kind of plays itself out almost like a simulation, almost like a virus. It has a lifespan, and things happen along the way because you're going to have people too entrenched on both sides to even be able to have a slow stroll towards schism. Instead, they just... But every single time, one thing remains true. Every group that has said the things that trads are saying right now, every single one of them have failed. Every one. And everyone says, yeah, but that was them. We're not going to fail. We're the true ones. They don't see from our perspective, just how unbelievable that is. Why would we believe that? Why on earth would we believe that? Why would we believe that the Lord would even allow his bride to have a monster head? To decapitate the head. And say, oh no, the bride of Christ did it to herself. What buffoonery. I have zero respect. That's why Jesus says treat them like heathens and tax collectors. Actually, he says the very next thing. For this is why I told you about the binding and loosing. Because that institution that he's talking about has to be. It can't not be. Which is why restorationism fails. Because that means it would have defected. And then later was restored. Wait, how do I... Why? But see, that's the whole point. That makes Jesus fake. It would make Jesus, and this is St. Francis de Sales, it would make Jesus the worst sinner ever. Because more people would have fallen prey to the popes and to the bishops that led him astray. We got to be, look around and try to find some folks to help us out and say, man, did you go to that website to see the real truth? The real truth's over here. Go check out www.whatever.com. And how is that not, I found Jesus over here. I found Jesus over there. Don't believe them. If they say they're having mass out in the boondocks somewhere and that there's no other masses around, you can bank 100% certainty that that's not the church. It's not the church. Because Jesus is not going to be made a fool of. Instead of a contest, make a fool of Christ every day. I say the SSPX is doing it too. And I'm done playing with that, by the way. I'm done playing around. Yeah. I've just heard so many trashy, stupid arguments. And when you go on, I hope that this is clear for everybody. When somebody's talking about the impossibility of the contrary and transcendental arguments and bringing up St. Irenaeus and bringing up St. Francis de Sales, bringing up Ronald Knox, bringing up, Father Lassance, all these other people, and all you got is, yeah, man, that's gay. And that's all you have? Dude, you're like a kid from the 90s or something that never really grew up. You're like Uncle Ricoing it. But you're around a bunch of Uncle Ricos. And so you say that you're good. You guys all rub each other's shoulders and say, yeah, if Coach would have just put us in. If the Lord would have just made me the Pope. And if you say, no, that's not the truth. Say, why not? You believe you're actually a Catholic. You're at least eligible. Oh, I never thought about it that way. Goodness gracious alive. Let's see. One needs to read the entirety of the documents instead of trying to make it contradict. No. No one has to. I mean, it's advisable for the bishops. It's advisable for them. When people are talking about matters of canon law and theological notes and things like that, most people are Monday night quarterbacking theology every day. They really don't know much. If you were to ask them about the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s and stuff, they wouldn't really know, but they're really good about their quotes on hot button issues. And the truth is, those things are actually supposed to be distilled to us. We ought to take our time, if we would like, and read it prayerfully, quietly, subjecting ourselves to the probability, the infinite, it's infinitely more likely that if we found a contradiction that we were wrong, than that the body of Christ and the vicar of Christ on earth were wrong. I'll take my chances any day on that. But what I'm saying is that because people can say, well, look, it's a clear contradiction. The Arians did. They could say, look, it's a clear contradiction what Jesus says about going to his God and your God, and they've got to come up and they got to find some reason why it doesn't contradict. But to the Arian person, they're going to say, look, you're trying to make me believe both things. And for us, we say, well, yes. Yes, why? It's the Trinity. And that's why the church is the one to settle the score. That's why a lot of people are wrong when they debate Catholics and, like on ontology, right? On essence and energy distinction stuff. And they're debating that as if their ontology and all this other stuff, that it comes first for them. Not on this ecclesiological score. Not on the ecclesiological score, because the church in that passage is herself the one with the sole authority in heaven and on earth to decide between the things. Nobody's going to roll up and say, oh yeah, but this is, can't you see? A church defines it. A church decides it. And that's why that's an argument where it's an impossibility of the contrary. Does your church fit the schema? Does your church have what it takes to fit the bill? And if not, then you aren't a church. Or you are, but not the church. You are part of varying degrees, right? And I'm not meaning to say don't study the stuff. What I am saying is we need to really break free from The argument that simply adds more arguments. The piecemeal thing. If we say you got to find a clear contradiction, I'm telling you now, people, I've been to the Diamonds website. Those dudes have dedicated like 2 decades to trying to find things that are like, oh yeah, but look at this, but look at that, but look at this. Those buggers could go on forever. They could go on forever, which is why our model here says, bring it. Bring every single one you've got, because that's what St. Francis did. It is what he did. And not because he was super smart. Of course he was. Not just because he was a fantastic debater. And of course, we know he was. Instead, because the impossibility of the contrary. Because without that, he says it in the very beginning. Literally what would later become the author's introduction in the popular versions, the Tan book and stuff like that. The author's introduction. He admits flat out that these people are going to want him to defend this and defend that and defend this. And you could just go forever. He says there's tons of arguments. People debate them, whatnot. He said what he's going to do, he's not going to admit one. And why? Not one charge. Why is that? And that includes a heretical pope, by the way. You know, only blasphemers and stuff would say such things back then. You know, but to him, he said he's a faithful son of the church. He would never dare do such a thing because he's a faithful son. And he believes that he will be rewarded by the Lord for this because he's valiant. Standing firm on that firm foundation of truth. It's a visible church. He spends enormous amounts of time talking about the need for a visible church and how if you condemn the visible church, but your orders were derived from them, then you're a joker. And if you don't understand that, it's because you haven't read it. And if you read it, but you still didn't understand it, you aren't reading it. You're basically just looking around to find something that looks like it can be processed in your brain to justify what you believe. Man. Let's see. Let's see. We'll do a couple more things. Grover, it was a medieval festival crew because she became their princess and their only royalty of the land. Unfortunately, about 2 years after her death, they closed the event. Yeah, you know what? What if we read that? What if we read that chapter? Okay? I'll read the introduction. By the way, people, if you haven't bought this book, I really encourage you to do it. Not just because it's mine, right? But because it's alive. This book is alive. It's amazing. I have to say it. I have to say it. And it looks like it's bigger than it is, right? This is a beat up copy. We got a whole bunch. We got a whole box of new ones, man. Look at this. Look at the brightness of these colors. And look at that. It's like I carry this thing around everywhere. It's grimy. And I carry it around everywhere because of this. My sister died at the end of 2023 after a 6.5-year battle with breast cancer. At the end, she let's see. Okay. Yeah, I tried to recover, yeah. Instead of depending, I was in the forum for a week and the grabs match up what I see. Okie dokes. I don't know what to tell you. It's weird. St. Augustine did. St. Augustine would say, look, these people that you're wanting to rip out, you could rip out the wheat with the tares. I mean, God does that at the judgment. You really have things that you could work on for yourself. and to pray for those people instead of chuckling. I don't know many places that talk about chuckling, the giggles, because that's all it is. The little dopamine dash they get, the little spritz of dopamine that people get when they rip on other people that they don't know for living lives worse than they think they do and stuff. There's so many better things you could do. I'm going to turn this thing on. Yeah, by the way, Mars says, the book Enthusiasm effectively describes the dangers of emotionalism when it infects religion. And this kind of, was it Pascal? Where it was this kind of really rigid and dark, it was a dreary kind of Jansenism. Kind of a little bit OCD, a little bit reclusive guy. I don't know if I'm getting the right guy. All right. All right. I'll let everybody get to that. I'll go ahead and take that down. Okay. So, my sister. My sister battled cancer for 6.5 years. She was actually, there's a part in the book, I opened right up to it. You can see her. Hold on. So, right there, giving air, oxygen to my daughter as she's dying. And this picture here is the moment her heart beat for the last time. My sister and my mother were watching them. I show in this book pictures that I'd never shared before from a video where I'm carrying my daughter out of the house. And I wrote it in what attempted to be the rhyme and meter of Dante with his Inferno. You can see, pretty brutal. But things got crazy after my daughter passed. It got crazy. And there's a part in here, right here. I'll just read it right here. You won't understand it entirely, but it's worth it. 85 miles per hour. Within days, Papa's world was falling apart. Trials and tribulations seemed to come out of nowhere, hitting him from every direction like cars at a demolition derby, each one stripping away, piece by piece, the work he had dedicated his life to. "What's wrong with you?" screamed the outraged mobs. "The board decided you're done at CFI, Jeremiah. I'm not friends with old-fashioned freaks." "Jeremiah, Teresa's getting held back. Your sons are struggling emotionally. We've canceled your 9/11 speech about Sammy. Effective immediately, your radio show is off the air. Team Tiny Dancer is canceled. And Curly has terminal cancer." A great horned owl flew high overhead, then swooped down to glide beside the van. It peered through the window, watching with pity as Papa shamed himself to pieces. At 90 miles an hour, Papa saw a sign for the end of this spiraling toll road, and with a death wish in his smile, he shifted into overdrive. At 95 miles per hour, Papa reached the top, and there he saw the end. It was dreadful, like a drawbridge or ramp with nothing on the other side. He thought about turning around to wind back down the hill, but there was something alluring about the clouds and open air, about the mystery ahead. And though he couldn't see where his van would land, he felt convinced that somehow, some way, he'd be okay. And with his world in flames, he felt he had nothing more to lose. So he took a deep breath, squinted his eyes, and imagined the family full of life and cancer-free. Then he squeezed the wheel as hard as he could and pressing the pedal of his van to the metal, he shouted with all of his might, "Save me, Sammy Lee!" His wheels kissed and waved goodbye to the world below as the van flew over the hill. For a moment he felt like the Dukes of Hazzard, flying in a free fall, alive and adrift in an endless sea of tranquility. But it was there, in midair, that he saw something strange in the distance. And as the van sped toward the ground, Papa pumped his brakes, but all for naught, and he feared he'd collide with whatever was below. Then, when the van finally slammed on the ground, Papa smashed his feet on the brakes and 95, 75, 45, 25, 10. His wheels squealed as they skid down the street, leaving long back trails under plumes of smoke billowing in his wake. And the smell of burning rubber filled the air as the van came to a stop. Papa sat there, quiet and still, as a statue with his eyes wide shut, sensing the new reality round about him. The violent winds didn't whirl through the car anymore, and the noisy papers were on the floor. The fire that burned hot on his face was replaced by a springtime chill, and the sounds of stars crashing to the earth were replaced by the hoot of a great horned owl and the whisper of leaves in the breeze. He opened his eyes to see what had scared him, but only a moment too late, for all he saw were the comb-like serrations of the horned owl's pinions racing up and out of view. His heart became sad, but only until his eyes caught sight of the street sign, which placed him and his overheating minivan at the intersection of confession and catharsis. Back in the quiet zone, these memories played like movies on the film of his smoke, reeling, rewinding, and replaying repeatedly for months on end. The life they'd made, the story that Sammy danced for him, crumbled like a sandcastle in the palm of his hands. All that work, all that time gone in the blink of an eye. It felt so unreal, almost otherworldly, to be boxing at shadows and chasing the wind. But the harder he fought, the less he would win. And he always lost even more in the end. Then came the comfort of quiet and calm, when the fog finally faded away. And though his world had been upended, he still had those balloons, and he knew his family was on their way. So he grabbed the balloons, then folded them like an American flag, securing them as a soldier at retreat. And with his cane squeezed tightly in his hand, Papa marched with a limp, duty-bound to descend, deflated from defeat into the blinding light of darkness at the bottom of the basement stairs. Moments later, Mama and the kids walked through the door, and they were excited to see Papa. So they ran toward the sound of the song of the siren, but when they got to the door of Papa's office, they discovered that he was nowhere to be found. "Really, baby?" Mama said as she entered his room. She lifted the needle from off the record, and her nose scrunched in disgust at the smell of marijuana. So she knew that Papa had been there, and that he was sad. She'd seen the calendar, though, earlier in the day, so she knew the reason why. Then, just as she turned to leave the room, she saw Papa's book, opened and face down on the floor. So she picked it up, and there, where Papa left off, she beheld the upward spiral of Mount Purgatorio, as well as a handwritten letter that read, "Has it really been 1 year since the day you died? Oh my, Samantha Lee, how time flies in the fog of war." And that's the end of that one. That's the end of that one. I don't want to get all teary-eyed. What did I say I was going to read? Which one did I say I was going to read? Oh, it's going to drive me nuts. Let's see here. Howls in the hallway, candy cans, killing cancer, the sonic screwdriver. Furious and frustrated is funny. Having the talk with your friends. Let's see, Memento Mori atop, a Jubilee atop the Thames. I like that a lot. And Yeah. I have Angels in the Vortex. They're also good. It's hard for me. I said I was going to read one. What did I say I was going to read? What did I say I was going to read? Yeah. I'll read Memento Mori. It's fun. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. You guys down for that? Are you down? If you are, stick around. I'm going to just keep reading. And if you want to put up a super chat, I will do my best to connect with you on that. By the way, it's the first time I've ever used super chat. I have all of these things. I have all of them. Super chat, super whatever. There's like 4 different supers now. And so yeah, it's nice. I want to thank everybody so far for that. It's really cool. I'll do more readings. In fact, I'll be doing readings every day between now and the conference. And I should have talked about the conference. I went guns akimbo. I had a lot to say. I didn't even get to talk all the way about a bunch of the scoundrels. I'm kind of glad. I just had to deal with the people in here. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I invited everybody. I said, look, you want to come on in? There's going to be Q&A. You can go ahead and leave a super chat. Leave a super chat. Okay. Okay. Let's see. I'll read you the end of this. And I want to see if anybody in the comments, if you're able to get where I got some of the imagery from. Okay, this is the end of the chapter about Make-A-Wish. The kids had already gone to sleep. I had already gone to this amazing event where it was a 15-foot banner of our daughter on the wall. They had a big video compilation, all that. And it was sad too because there was a man. In fact, I'll just read that and then I'll skip ahead to the end. The event was labeled Journey of Imagination, and it was loaded with themes and images inspired by Sammy's wish. There were a variety of different acts, and a Make-A-Wish ambassador even played an original score on the piano. But it was the video featurettes of Wish Kids that moved everyone the most. People met a little boy who got to shoot pucks with Detroit Red Wings goalie Jim Howard. And they saw a little girl who was head over heels about a donut shop playhouse. And a teenage boy talked about how happy he was to finally own the red accordion he always wanted. Story after story, each one as emotional and inspirational as the last. The children were charming, adorable, and bursting with innocence, and all of them had at least 2 things in common. Each of them suffered from the scariest of deadly diseases, and Make-A-Wish Michigan was doing whatever it could to grant them a wish in hopes of providing joy amidst their fears and suffering. When dinner arrived, the keynote speaker made his way to the podium. He was an ordinary man. He wasn't a professional orator, but he spoke from his heart. And with the power of choreographed pictures flashing across the screen behind him, he told the tale of his beautiful teenage daughter. Like Sammy, she'd been diagnosed with cancer. And like Team Tiny Dancer, he and his family were committed to living and loving life to its fullest. He recalled how they first discovered the signs and symptoms, and he talked about that fateful moment when doctors first told them she had cancer, as well as the many amazing life-changing experiences they had together ever since. Everyone loved the man's story, but Papa loved it the most. He was captivated, sitting on the edge of his seat from beginning to end, awed and inspired by the life and lessons of this beautiful girl and the family that loved her. He hoped to meet this man and his daughter just to tell them how much he loved their story. But when he looked at the table where the man had been seated, he didn't see the man's daughter anywhere. And there wasn't a second vacant seat at the table. Where is she? Papa wondered as he scanned the room. Then the man continued. My baby girl was so excited when Make-A-Wish contacted us, and she was overjoyed when she got the news that they granted her wish. Cancer is so hard to deal with, you know. And every day contains its own set of challenges. But Make-A-Wish gave her hope, and she loved life. Then he paused. Loved? Papa gasped. After a painful moment's silence, the man began to cry. My daughter never made it to Disney. She died weeks before her wish was granted. No, 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 Papa cried in his heart. He didn't expect this, not at all. And now he was weeping. It's not supposed to end that way, Papa whimpered. She wasn't supposed to die. The dad said a few more things, and when he was done, Papa was the first to stand to his feet, leading everyone in a standing ovation that lasted almost 5 minutes. He wanted to clap even harder, but he was afraid he'd break the bones in his hand. Even after people returned to their seats, Papa stayed standing, at least long enough to see the man walk away from the stage. He walked alone along the outer wall, and just as he stepped beneath the large poster of Sammy, Papa realized something. The man never looked up, not even for a moment. There was no smile, no wave, no nod of recognition, nothing at all. He was broken beyond words, and with his eyes cast toward the ground, he marched his way past his empty seat at his table, to the back of the room, out the door, and toward his suite, where Papa imagined he'd spend the rest of the night weeping himself to sleep. Will that be me? Papa wondered. Will I be that man? That dad crying himself to sleep? It was a terrible thing to ponder, but it didn't last long as the MC from WDIV-TV suddenly called the Bannisters to the stage. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, Make-A-Wish Michigan proudly introduces our highlighted ambassador of Wishball 2015, Samantha Bannister. And it was amazing, by the way, all this stuff, right? I wanted to skip ahead and ask if you could recognize this. I think I've had one person so far that did. Where it came from, where I took some of this from. Sammy removed her sash. Oh yeah, hold on. The wish ball was epic, Athens said as he fell back on the bed. Ambrose unclipped his tie and replied, It was better than epic. It was perfect. Sammy gazed out the huge window overseeing the city, watching the cars pass by, then sighed. Well, it was almost perfect. Really? Ambrose scoffed. What else could you ask for? Sammy removed her sash, then turned around, and with the most irresistible puppy face, she looked at Papa and begged, Buffalo wings? Papa thought she was joking, but Sammy was serious. Seriously suffering from a bad case of evening med munchies. So Mama ordered room service, and 20 minutes later, with a belly full of buffalo wings, Sammy was asleep with the other kids on the bed. Papa told Mama he needed to think. So he took the key to their suite, grabbed a copy of the New York Times, and made his way to a quiet place in the lobby. The lights were dim, but the fireplace spanned the entire length of the room, providing just enough light for him to read. The Times were riddled with raging controversies over election 2016, but not even that could keep his attention. For no matter how much he wished to distract himself with the news, and no matter how much he enjoyed reading about Republicrat outrage, he was insufferably distracted. Even if he weren't, there was no way in all the world he could have continued reading through the tears overtaking his eyes. He was furious inside, and in a fit of frustration, Papa crinkled the newspaper, then walked to the ledge overlooking the fireplace. A melancholy piece of music played overhead, with instruments like the trumpet, flute, and harp, and the harmony seemed to hover atop the flit and flicker of the flames. Where are you? Papa scoffed at God. No miracles, huh? No guardian angel to put out the fire? No cure for all those cancer kids? He felt like a crazy man, shaking his fist at Holy Ghost and raising his voice in the wind. But he couldn't free himself of the fear or the fury that he'd felt ever since hearing the dad on the stage. And what's up with that anyway, huh? Is it punishment for our sins or just the price of being born? And is it true what some of Sammy's supporters say? Are you waiting for me to bend the knee to pray to you? A gentle breeze swirled throughout the room, and it caused Papa to shiver. He had no idea where it came from, but it was tranquil, refreshing as dew before the dawn. And while he could still feel the warmth of the fire, his heart stopped overheating, and his mind, once red hot, finally began to cool down. He looked again at the flicker of the flames, but this time it was different. For he imagined a mysterious man as old as time, and the family stood beside him in an old, rugged TARDIS made of wood. All of them were engulfed by the fire, yet they were clothed in comfy coats, winter hats, and bulky boots. And though they looked battered and bruised, and in desperate need of a good night's sleep, they were safe, entirely unscathed, and they were together, protected by that man and his old, rugged TARDIS. More than that, they were dancing, laughing, and singing songs with a single voice. It was so sacred, and for a fleeting second, Papa pondered whether he ought to lay prostrate on the floor. But he had his pride and his hardened heart. Then he blinked, and just like that, the vision vanished into oblivion, leaving only fire, darkness, and that symphony of sad and sorrowful sounds resounding from his weeping and gnashing of teeth. That was really hard that day. It's at the MGM Grand. I have pictures throughout the whole thing. But I told you I'd read this one. It's not long. Let's see. No. There's a chapter I like in this, or a paragraph in particular. We're up at the London Eye, and we're overseeing everything, and it's, the end of our first night. I can see the whole city of London from here, Sammy exclaimed, as the kids pressed their faces against the glass. In fact, at 135 meters above the River Thames, Sammy could see much more than that. They saw the Gherkin, the Shard, and the Tower of London, as well as Buckingham Palace, the Queen's Palace Gardens, and the world-famous Big Ben. Once the eye had reached the top, it stopped, just long enough for Mama and Papa to kiss. And with the children held tightly in their arms, Team Tiny Dancer stood for a moment of silence and a solemn salutation to the sunset, with its ecclesiastical colors of gold, purple, red, and white. Then they waved and bid sweet dreams to the loyal and royal denizens of this nearly 2,000-year-old city. I don't know why, but I've always liked that. That chapter. Or just that paragraph even. I know what I was gonna read. I was gonna read the fun one. I gotta read the fun one. I'm like, why am I so sad? Okay. Who's with me still? Come on. Yeah. Man, there's a lot of comments in this. Oh. Yeah, who's saying who's being purposefully rude? I don't know. It's Jeremiah. Yeah, I don't know. I have no clue who's being rude. I have no idea. Okay, so listen. Okay, so we're gonna do one more. Do it, Brian Parker, brother. It's good to see you, Pack Islander for life. It is good to see you. I'm enjoying this. Jay Pernope, dude, the whole gang. I'm loving this, by the way. Yeah, okay. I agree with you on the anti-Catholic stuff. Ducloux's views. Yeah. Oh, is Ducloux here, dude? Really? Lyndon Preedy? Oh, dude, the whole gang. Okay. Oh, buddies. Michael? Whoa, dude, hey. Yeah, dude, thank you. Hold on. Yeah, glad to see you back, dude. Thank you very much. Let's get this back up for a second. Where's the chat? Where did I put that? There we go. There we go, bro. Yeah, glad to see you, dude. Yeah, where's the rest here? Yeah, no, don't stop doing it. Yeah, Michael. Appreciate it very, very, very much. Yeah, look at that. I can do little thumbs ups on there. Right? Thanks, son. All right, no, the more you know. I'm learning tons and tons of stuff. Ducloux says, I joined this late. Thursday, I'd be curious to hear more and see more screenshots. I'm surprised the people there would be promoting the spirit of Vatican II. I'm not on the forum, though. Yeah, I can't. Yeah. Gene Zanetti. Spiritual strength with Gene Zanetti. Guys, go follow that dude. Go follow. If you want to be pumped up for Jesus and just literally pumped up, dude's got me pumped just thinking about it. I'm like, dude, where's the weights right now? Give me some weights. For real, I have been lifting like a fiend. Losing serious weight, boys and girls. Losing serious weight. My goal is I would like to look fantastic. I'd like to be where I ought to be, or at least awfully darn close. And do it through fat shame to fitness and lifting enormous amounts of weight. And it's working. And sweating up like a crazy guy. I could just sit in here and just sweat the oldies all day. Okay. So, Black Rock. This is the medieval festival. People were talking about that. This is a fun one, okay? This is goofy. I don't think there's anything really sad in it. So you're going to have a fun time, okay? It's called Princess Sammy's Big Huzzah Black Rock Medieval Festival. The morning after Sammy's football game. She had a football game, and it was in her honor, and they brought all these games and stuff. It's so awesome. One of the groups that came was this group called Black Rock. And the Black Rock was a medieval festival, not the same as a Ren Fair. It is a different thing. And medieval festivals are amazing, especially this one. However, I was not always of the persuasion that was awesome. And you'll see that right now. 9 a.m. came quickly. And so did the scorching sun. But Sammy had to be there bright and early for the grand opening of Black Rock Medieval Festival. Clara's here too, Mr. B, Sammy's friend Clara said. And she always keeps things cool. Clara's use of third person normally made Papa laugh, but he was much too hot for that. The temperature was just an excuse, though. Truth is, Papa did not want to be there at all, by the way. He'd never been to a Renaissance fair, and he didn't know how or why they differed from a medieval festival, but the whole idea just seemed weird to him. It's role-playing, he grumbled, and people who attend these things remind me of my old high school friends who played Dungeons and Dragons. Mama laughed as she handed the kids some fans that she'd made from paper plates and popsicle sticks. You do know that most of your best friends are into role-play games, right? Yeah, and they're into euchre too, Papa scoffed, watching with wonder as people dressed like Hercules and Xena passed by. He shook his head in amazement, then scrunched his face and murmured, oh, and yet they wonder why I'm always too busy for game night. By the way, I outed myself to my friends, because I really do. Okay, old man Grumpy Pants, his cousin Derek interjected. Now, how much you want to bet you'll end up loving this place by the time it's over? He wanted to say something snarky, but before he had time to come up with a comeback, dozens of people assembled around him. There were elves, fairies, monks, and Vikings, even heroes and villains from comic books. And all of them fixed their eyes on a large wooden gate. There were a few photographers, too, and they were carrying some really fancy cameras. One of them was a photojournalist for the Michigan geek scene, but at least he was dressed like a normal, everyday guy. And the other fellow looked like a real-life cowboy, sporting a leather vest, pointy steel-tip boots, and a massive belt buckle enough to eat a T-bone steak off of. As weird as it sounds, Papa thought these two were the safest bet of the bunch. So he moseyed on over and tried to strike up some good old-fashioned small talk. "What are people waiting for?" Papa asked the cowboy. "Y'all are about to see the grand opening of Black Rock," he replied with a classy tip of his brim. Mr. Geek Scene switched the mode on his camera, then looked through the lens and said, "Facebook's all abuzz with rumors of something huge going down this morning, so I'm here to document what all the hubbub's about." Their conversation was interrupted by a blast of a trumpet, or maybe it was the sound of a shofar. I can't, in the audiobook, I can't ruin that sentence. Every Wolfpack member is like, "Oh, bro, it's a shofar." The conversation was interrupted by the blast of a trumpet, or maybe it was the sound of a shofar, but whatever it was enough to gain the attention of Mr. Geek Scene and the cowboy. The two of them raced as fast as they could, then stood in front of the crowd, eagerly awaiting whatever it was on the other side of the wooden door. Creak! The gate sounded like it hadn't been opened in years, and the squeak made Papa wince. Whoever's pushing those doors is taking their grand old time, he thought. And what on earth could be so special to require this super cringe, overly dramatic grand opening anyway? "Whoa!" the kids exclaimed. "It's Sammy!" There she was, front and center, a star surrounded by dozens of adoring subjects. Her long flowing dress was regal blue, with embroidered seams of gold, and it danced only inches above the ground, which helped to hide the little limp in her stride. The top rested along the outside of her arms, exposing her porcelain shoulders to the heat of the morning sun. And she'd been equipped with a wooden sword that neatly sheathed beneath an illustrious leather belt. Here she is. That's what she looked like. "She looks like a real-life princess, Papa," Ambrose exclaimed. "I bet she feels like one, too," Clara added. Cavendish, which is a duke, I think it was a duke. He was the guy, kind of the leader there. Cavendish waved his hand to alert the crowds, then said in a loud voice, "Black Rock has been without a royal for many moons, and it has pained our people. Our scouts have traveled long and far in search of the perfect princess. But alas, there has been no one worthy to sit on the throne." Then he turned towards Sammy and said, "That was until we met you." A metallurgist emerged from the back of the crowd. He was tall and burly, and his outfit was made of heavy metal and animal skins. And he had large and leathery hands that held an illustrious pillow, which served as the seat for a crown. The crown was gold, glistened in the sunlight, and it was enshrined with row after row of precious stones. He was careful to hand the pillow to the Duchess, and after a surprisingly graceful bow, he signaled for everyone to kneel, and no one dared disobey, not even Papa. "Old World Village is a most modest place," Cavendish continued, "and we're a very humble people. But we have heart, and we never lost hope that we'd one day find a lady, nay, a princess, and one who was worthy of our love and loyalty. So, when our scouts brought word of your courageous battles, we insisted on witnessing it ourselves. But what we saw on the field of football was unlike anything we'd ever seen, more than anything we could have imagined. For it was there that we beheld such beauty, such sincerity, and this maiden's loving kindness surpassed even our highest expectation." Cavendish took Samantha's hand, helping her back to her feet, then took the crown from atop the pillow and held it high overhead. "So, it is with joy unspeakable that we coronate you now and forever, Princess Sammy of Black Rock." The whole spectacle was shocking, and Papa could barely believe his eyes. There were dozens of people, all of them on their knees, kneeling before his firstborn, overwhelmed by joy, and with hearts crying hopeful tears. Papa couldn't believe it. And he tried to doubt what he'd seen. But then he felt tears running down his cheek, and he hurried to wipe them away. Cavendish turned toward the crowd, triumphantly declaring, "Behold, ye of Old World Village, the brave and the beautiful Princess Sammy of Blackrock!" Applause echoed through the grove as knights and Vikings wielded their weapons and jesters juggled while peasants threw flowers in the air. It was glorious, even rapturous, but most of all, it was authentic. And while Papa continued to wonder about a weekend spent in a wonderland of weirdos, he started to sense that Blackrock was serious, and he worried that maybe Derek was right. And with the crown on her head, Sammy raised her sword and said, "Come on, everyone, stand up," then led her loyal subjects to the world within the walls. The road inside. I'll put this chat back on. Dude, yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be back home, bro. I'm very, very, very glad. The roads inside were rocky and made of dirt. There was plenty of walking to do, as booths and venues were scattered across the land. Artisans and amateurs peddled products like handcrafted leather boots, otherworldly outfits, and chalices made from precious metal. They had food vendors, too, with items like Pirate's energy drink known as Root Jack, a vicious Viking mead, and the hugest turkey legs the family had ever seen. "It's kind of like a carnival," Mama said as she tried on some jewelry. "Yeah, but 1,000,000,000 times better," Athen exclaimed. Then he swung a quiver around his back and asked, "Hey, Papa, what do you think? Is Blackrock the coolest place on the planet or what?" Papa knew he'd get flack for his answer, so he tried to be all quiet and nonchalant about it, saying, "Yeah, I guess it's pretty cool." "What's that, Sergeant Scrooge?" Derek laughed, surprised by the joy of a Ren fair. Papa replied with his finger in the air. "It's a medieval festival, actually. And don't get your hopes up. I'm just saying that maybe it's not the dorkiest thing since the laugh track on Full House." I don't know where that came from. Oh my, wow. Hallelujah. Yeah, that'll go toward Haley. We're going to have to put some of that loot. In fact, that was a decent amount. Because we're back in action, Haley. Does it feel good? Do you know I'm back? I think it's like all the way. I mean, nobody's going to question it anymore. I went to war on Twitter. I mean, anyway. Thank you for the super chats. You can lavish me with super chats all day. I'll be very grateful for that. "It isn't terrible at all, Papa," Teresa scoffed, rubbing a super soft and silky rabbit's foot up and down her cheek. "It's my favorite place in all the world." "Meh," Papa replied. "Different strokes for different folks." Then he raised his glass into the air and squinted his eyes as he looked through the bottom. "And hey, if this mead gets me nice and drunk, I might actually end up liking this place." Teresa didn't think that was funny, especially since everyone was having such a great time. And what was there to complain about anyway? Sammy was a walking highlight reel, with fawning fans who followed her all around the grounds, and everyone bowed whenever she passed by. Heck, the gentlemen even tipped their hats to Sammy's friend, whom they decided to call Lady Clara. Magicians mesmerized the kids with their tricks while singers serenaded Mama with song. And a hairy horde of Vikings endowed Princess Sammy with a medallion of Thor's Mjolnir. Even better, Sammy got to sit on the throne overseeing the joust, watching as knights sparred in a tour de force of death-defying displays. "Oh my gosh," Sammy gasped as their jousts snapped into pieces. "I get so scared every time that happens." Princess Sammy liked the clip-clop sound of the horses' hooves whenever they would pound on the ground, and she enjoyed congratulating the knights for their bravery, even the ones who lost. Yeah. And Thor the Viking spoiled the kids with candy and ice cream, as well as pockets packed with Thor-a-bucks, which gave them more than enough money to buy, well, even more candy and ice cream. It was the jail, though. It was the jail that most captivated the children's time and attention. "Hey, you!" shouted a red-haired man in a kilt who everyone called Boo Boo. "Yes, you. Are you Princess Sammy's father?" "Why, yes. Yes, I am," Papa boasted. "I am Princess Sammy's papa." Boo Boo waved some people over, and all of them surrounded Papa. "Ah, then arresting you was even easier than we imagined." "Arresting?" Papa cried as Boo Boo grabbed hold of his arm. "What for?" "Quiet, criminal. We've got a warrant for you." Papa was so confused, but then he saw his children laughing and hurling insults, so he knew who was to blame. "Papa's going to jail. Papa's going to jail," they cheered. The jail was made from wood and vine, and it sort of looked like a big bird cage. But the inside was furnished with a rickety bench and an array of fake feet and hands, the kind you see in stores every year around Halloween. Outside the jail was a stage, where a judge and his crew of jerky jailers made prisoners perform a series of silly and embarrassing stunts. There were crowds of people, too, and all of them laughing and mocking the poor prisoners as they performed their punishments. "At least you're not alone," Papa's cousin Derek said as he played with one of the props. "Aw, man, your kids got you arrested too, huh?" "Dude, this is my third time in this place," Derek laughed. "Really? What did they get you for?" "I think the first time was for not buying more candy, and the second time was for making them go to school." "What is this time for?" Papa asked. "Quiet, you scallywags," growled the beautiful woman dressed like a pirate. Derek leaned over and whispered, "For not even knowing BlackRock was a thing until Sammy's football game." Just then, the judge stood up from his large wooden throne, and with brilliantly dramatic rolling R's, he shouted, "Bring us Jeremiah!" His voice echoed in the woods, and blasts from bagpipes blasted in the background as the pirate lady grabbed Papa by the arm. And people chanted, "Walk of shame! Walk of shame!" as he crossed the deck and stood before the judge. By the way, we got a picture of that. The rosy-cheeked judge was Flynn, and he wore a feathery capitano hat, along with baggy blue pantaloons that were tucked into a pair of knee-high leather boots. "Are you guilty?" he asked. "I don't even know what the charge is," Papa replied. "Oh, dear me," Flynn said, sarcastically with his hands on his cheeks. "Where are my manners?" Boo Boo grabbed Papa's warrant, which was rolled up like a scroll and tucked in his kilt. Then he handed it to Flynn. "Hold on," Papa cried to Boo Boo. "You knew my charges the whole time?" "Quiet, dog," Boo Boo scoffed. Then he smiled and winked, just to remind Papa that it was all in good fun. Let me see here," Flynn said as he scanned the scroll. "Apparently, Princess Sammy and the Team Tiny Dancer crew accuse you, Papa, of, and I quote, being the best dad ever." The crowd gasped. "It's true," Sammy shouted. "Yeah, he is the best dad," Ethan hollered. To which the crowd sneered and jeered. "Punish him! Make him pay!" "Are you kidding me?" Papa laughed. "This is rigged. Nothing but a kangaroo court." "Kangaroo?" Flynn replied. "Yes, I think that will do just fine." And with a naughty grin on his face, he said, "I think we have the perfect punishment for you." Everyone already had their cameras recording when a woman named Mother started punishing Papa. "All right, wretch," she snarled. "You gotta say and do whatever I tell you to. Got it?" Papa nodded. So she commanded him to make a unicorn horn with his index finger, then to use the other hand like a tail. You gotta imagine this, by the way. It was terrible. "And you gotta hop up and down like this," she said as she pranced around the stage. "And you better do it every time you sing the song." The song was called "I'm a Happy, Happy Unicorn." and the two of them sang so loudly that everyone in Old World Village could hear them. Papa hopped up and down, neighed like a horsey, and echoed Mother's lyrics, belting out the words, "I'm a happy, happy unicorn. I run through the forest all day. I run through the forest all night, and fairies get scared and run away." And with puppy eyes he sobbed, "And that makes me sad." Then he perked up and shouted aloud, "But that's okay. You know why? 'Cause I'm a happy, happy unicorn." Parents laughed while children danced around, and people took photos of Mother and Papa as the two of them neighed, stomped their hooves, and galloped around the stage. Sammy and the kids couldn't believe it either, because after all that complaining he did in the morning, there he was, acting completely ridiculous on the stage, and it looked like he was loving every second of it. Okay, Flynn said in a loud voice. "Settle down now, peasants." Then Flynn looked at Princess Sammy and asked, "So, Princess Sammy, what say you? Has your father endured enough?" All eyes turned toward Sammy, who pretended like she was thinking long and hard, but a smirk cut across her face and she said, "Not quite yet." Flynn asked for ideas, and suggestions were flying from every direction. "Make him battle with a sword," one said. "Make him walk around the village with the cowbell of shame," laughed another. But Sammy had the final say. So when she declared her answer, Flynn's jailers dragged Papa, kicking and screaming, to the stocks. And here it is. It got crazy. You can see. I even have the jail in there. You can see the jail. The stocks were made of wood, and for some weird reason, there was a big tub of water near the base. Boo Boo was more than glad to place Papa's hands and head into the holes. Then he mocked him as he closed and locked the latch. "Have mercy, Princess Sammy," Papa cried. Sammy was merciless, though, dumping cup after cup of ice-cold water on Papa's neck and head. He protested every time, pretending to be indignant that he was forced to suffer such a terrible injustice, and at the hands of such a lovely girl. But through the water that poured over his eyes, he saw something that made even the coldest water delightfully bearable. Mama was taking pictures, while the kids gave each other high fives, and Sammy and Clara laughed so hard that they almost started to cry. Sure, the water was freezing, and now his clothes were wet, but none of that mattered, not anymore, for it was here, in that mysteriously magical moment, that Papa was baptized into the bedlam of Blackrock. And now, like the rest of his family and friends, Papa was utterly and entirely hooked. After they were done, Papa dried off, but no sooner had he finished than everyone was summoned to the venue near the gate. Knights, Vikings, magicians, and jesters, as well as royals, peasants, and jailers, lined up along the main stage. So the place was packed, and it was hard to find a seat. People toward the back of the crowd scooched to make room on a bench for Princess Sammy, while cast members on the stage filled their cups with wine. And with nostalgic music playing in the background, Cavendish signaled for the crowd to quiet down. "The time has come, my friends, for once again we must part ways. So allow us to wish your journey well, and to raise our glasses for toast to the health of the company." Friends and family joined in rhyme, raising their voices in a chorus meant to curb the grief of bidding farewell. It sounded so sad, but everyone smiled. Then, just before the second verse, Cavendish and a visiting queen stepped forward from the stage, walked toward the back of the crowd, and knelt profoundly at Princess Sammy's feet. "Join us, Princess Sammy," the queen beckoned as she offered Sammy her hand. Sammy stood up from Papa's lap and walked through the crowd to join the people on the stage, where the cast, with all their eyes on their newfound princess, raised their glasses high and sang with all their might, "Here's a health to the princess that we love so well. Her glamour and beauty no maiden excels. There's laughter in her heart when she rests on my knee, and none on God's green earth as happy as me. Now her boat lies at anchor. She's ready to dock. I bid her safe sailing, kept safe from the rocks. And if again I greet her on bended knee, I'll sing in praise of her kindness to me. The lyrics pierced Papa's heart, and he bawled like a baby. It was only a few days ago that Sammy sat near the window, all furious she couldn't ride her bike, and terribly frightened by a potentially perilous and dreadfully painful death. Yet here she stood, singing, smiling, and shining like the sun. Papa regretted being judgmental, and he reflected on all he would have missed if he actually got in his way. The cameras and the crown at Sammy's coronation, the clomping of horses' hooves as knights jousted in Sammy's honor, and the jollity of injustice at the jail. He would have missed it all. And it made him think back to a conversation he'd had with Sammy only hours earlier in the gazebo near the joust. Black Rock truly is a magical place, Sammy had said, as she kicked stones across the floor. It's pretty awesome, isn't it? Papa replied. What? Sammy exclaimed, her mouth wide open. But I thought you said you hated this place. Fake news alert, Papa replied in a robot voice. But you need better sources, Papa scoffed. Who's peddling that propaganda anyhow? Let me think. Then she pointed her fingers in his face, and with the playful daggers flying out of her squinted eyes, she replied, You did, Papa. I heard you. Papa gasped and placed his hand on his heart, then puffed his chest like a rooster, and with a funny British accent he cried, How dare you? Why, I never. Yes, huh? You said, and I quote, This looks dorky, I hate it, and I want to go home. Papa rolled his eyes. Now I know you're lying. Then he smirked and mumbled, I said it was weird, not dorky. Sammy shook her head, then rested it on Papa's shoulder. I knew you were tricking me. Well, it's true, isn't it? I mean, come on, you gotta admit, this place is a little weird. Yeah, but we're weirdos too, you know. And these weirdos made me feel like a real princess all day. They even made Clara feel like royalty with me. And that made me so happy. They made you feel like a princess? Maybe you missed it somehow, but these people made you their princess. They crowned you the real-life princess of Black Rock. Sammy grinned so big. And when she saw Thora and Flynn playing and carrying on with the family, she said in a sweet voice, Honestly, Papa, today was the greatest day of my life, and I hope with all my heart that these people will be my friends forever. Back to the grand finale of Black Rock. Papa snapped out of his flashback, only to find himself at the grand finale of Black Rock's closing song. He hopped up, then stood on the bench, and with his daughter in view, he raised his meat into the air. And with a voice he hoped would echo into eternity, he joined them in chorus, singing, Here's a toast to the village and that Black Rock above, to dance and make merry from one glass our love. So let's dance and be merry, all woe to restrain, for we might or may never all sing here again. That's the end of that chapter. I don't know who's still with me. All right. 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. 2.5. Do I have an ending screen still? Hold on. I had to go studio mode. Ending. Hold on. Okay, so I have to, if I want to do the ending here for this thing. Okay. I'm going to just put these on here. I don't know why that's not. Yeah. Where's all the music? Oh, that's so terrible, man. I had music on there and everything for the ending, and it's just not there anymore. That's such a bummer. That is such a bummer. Yeah. Oh, I even had stuff set up that I was going to show you. Here, watch. I'll show you a transition. Look at that. There you go. I should have done this the whole time. Why didn't I do that? Why did I not do that? Because look at this. Isn't that kind of dope right there? Isn't that kind of good? Let's get a song over here, man. Oh no. Studio mode. Paleocrat intro. What do we want to do for the ending? Do I even have that? I don't even have the music anymore. No. I have mariachi ando. I've got all that stuff, but I have no... Oh, shadowing. Yeah, what's up with this? Okay, so I have to find the shadowing real quick. Properties. Okay. Corbin Kites, MP3. Browse. Because that's how we have to end it, man. We can't end it any other way. Corbin. Shadowing. And there we go. Yeah, there it is. Open. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. So I'm going to have to do this. Watch this. I'll scooch all the way back over here. I'm like way in the dark. And we're going to see if this works here. No! Dude, that's like everything. That's like everything at the same time. Dude, I didn't have it set up, so I didn't even have the Quadcast microphone in there. I don't even have the microphone. So I wasn't able to do the ending. I apologize for all of that. I should have prepared. All right. Well, I will be back tomorrow. You are going to see me every single day. We're either going, but probably like a little easy bits, not every day, right? You got to go to Telegram. All the links and all of that jazz are in the description below. Let's get this back over. In the description below. And so you just got to make sure if you want to be a patron, if you would like to support that cause, and let's stay in studio mode. I'm going to bring that over here and just have that play. Watch this. Ending. Let's see. Shadowing. There we go. Copy that. Copy. There we go. Paste. Ah. Look at that. That's better. It's okay. Yeah. Make sure to check out all of the links in the description below. Okay? So we're going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff leading up to the Trad Recovery Conference. I have a number of speeches. I got a bunch of events. It's crazy. You know, I told people, I said, one of the reasons a lot of the people who've done a lot of public speaking stopped doing public speaking is because they didn't stop public speaking. They just started making it for free all the time and saying, oh, I'm just going to talk all the time. I want you to invite me because tomorrow, I'll come on tomorrow, probably 9 o'clock. All right, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, something like that. I'll come on and we're going to talk about the Great Kaiser Caravan. That's what it's going to be. The Great Kaiser Caravan is an awesome trip in the lead up and aftermath of Trad Recovery Conference. So we are going to, where are we going to go? Notre Dame. I want to talk to my buddy Noah Braden over there. I want to talk to him, Notre Dame. I want to go visit Opus Dei down there. And then to St. Louis we go. I think we're in St. Louis for 4 days. We're going to do all sorts of stuff. I'm hoping a baseball game, local foods, getting to hang out with myself, with Jake, hopefully other people around that area. And then even if it's hours away, make it a day trip, hang out with us, right? And then from St. Louis, we're going to leave, making our way to Montana, and we're going to go through Sioux City. We're going to go Mount Rushmore, a whole bunch of stuff. So it's going to be totally awesome. until next time, never give up, keep on smiling, and memento mori.